collaboration and illuminating the city. A lot of my recent projects have been fairly unconventional animation gigs, whether it's animating flick books from mysterious trails through the woods, or creating animation out of the brain signals recorded as a musician plays the ukulele. I'm also one of the animators who runs Bang, and I've been designing collaborative live events for the group, projects that I co-direct with other members of the collective. In 2009, our project Future Machine transported Brighton's Unitarian Church into the future. We had natural futures, retro futures, generative futures, and alien futures. And this year, we're taking over Marlborough House with our collaboration Dream Machine. What seemed interesting was not just to project stuff onto a building, but to tell a story about that building using a variety of media: comics, animation, live performance, and radio. So that was our jumping off point. What's going on inside this mansion? And we've created a gothic celebration of dreams and cephalopods. It's a story about this chap. He's a doctor in 1792, experimenting on his patient's sleep using this little fella, the Dream Machine. And when they get together, well, something quite strange happens. We're distributing the story across Brighton in October with a comics newspaper. The story goes that the experiments have been going on to present day, and now it's 2010, outside, but it's still very much the 18th century inside, and the patients want to wake up. And they will. On the 30th of October, an animation projection will bring the story to its dramatic finale. Dreams will literally pour out of the building front itself. And the event's going to be soundtracked by a live radio show. This is our radio team. No, that's not. That's Orson Welles. But we're going to be channeling the spirit of his War of the Worlds broadcast by creating a tongue-in-cheek news report for Brighton. Give me some sound.
A giant octopus has slid into Wolf the country, and dozens of cows have sauntered into the sea.
There'll also be performers in pyjamas pouring out of the building itself on the night. So have a look at the website and come along to the event, and I'll give you a taste of it. Go on, put the volume up. Go on.
Coming up, 200 years of dreams. This is BBC Radio 4, and news is breaking now. Marlborough House in the centre of Brighton, haunted with a strange light and evidence.
And if you can't make it along on the night, well, go light up your own cities, villages and towns, and use your creativity to reimagine the place where you live. Thanks very much.
Good morning, Brighton. My name is Bashari Gurkhan, and that's my little assistant there, Merlin. You can see he's a late one, and he's going to help us out later. So let's get rid of him for now. So what I'm going to talk about is a workflow design framework that I built using Flash, which was initially used for building IVR applications. So the question is, what's an IVR? It stands for Interactive Voice Response, and it's a technology that allows a computer to detect voice and DTMF tones on the keypad. So it's kind of like the tones you hear when you dial a number on your phone. And IVR applications follow a workflow which has a start and end, and you've got tasks and decisions that you go through the process. So let's see an example.
Hello, IT. Something's wrong with my computer. Have you tried turning it off and on again? Oh dear, thanks. You're welcome, mate.
Okay, so what we'll do is we'll try to build the same application using the framework, and then we will test it using the Merlin test tool. So let's switch. Right here, what you see is the actual designer application. You can see it's just like a normal workflow. You have a start and an end, and each of these guys are tasks, and the framework moves in between tasks based on the events that are generated at runtime. So here you can see on case 2 means when the user presses 2 on their keypad, go to the next node. So each of these tasks, or what I call actions, come from your library on your left-hand side, and you can literally just drag things out and link them up based on the events that you want to link it up. So It's a great tool because you don't need to do any coding, which was the initial idea, and you can literally, as a developer, you can handball the work to someone junior or someone that doesn't understand coding. But the best part about it is that if you do need to write code, you can actually write code. So if we are using a syntax here, which is SQL syntax, and it's actually quite powerful. You can declare variables, create XML, parse them, and you've got function parameters here that you can feed your functions, variables or other parameters, and you've got events. So let's run our app using Merlin. We've got a test tool with a little keypad, so let's get them up.
Hello, you called IT. If you tried turning it off and on again and still having issues, press 1.
So
Press 1 if your computer is definitely plugged in, otherwise press 2.
Yep.
Press 1 if you see a green light glowing, otherwise press 2.
Okay, maybe not.
Looks like you need to press the button to turn it on.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
And remember to go.
Hello everyone. That's going badly already. Right, my name is David Arney, and I want to talk to you about open source Flash. Now, Adobe make a range of really good quality development tools for Flash, but there is a disadvantage to these tools. They cost a lot of money, especially here in Europe, where typically we have to pay 50% more than they do in the States for exactly the same product. There is an alternative though, where there are plenty of open source tools available. Now, I say that Adobe charge a lot of money for their products, but they also produce the Flex SDK, which, as well as being a component framework, it also contains a whole range of completely free and open source tools. Those, combined with the efforts of lots of other people, have meant that we've got open source development tools that cover the entire life cycle, from frameworks all the way through to Flash players. A really good example of open source tools is Flash Develop. It's Windows only, which is a bit of a problem for some of you, but it is a fully featured IDE and is comparable with the paid-for ones, even though it's completely free. If you're on Mac, it's worth checking out a product called Mini Builder, which is air-based and therefore works on all of them. Now, if you have Flash Builder 4, especially if you bought the premium version, you may well be aware of the fact that it's got unit testing built into it. Now, the actual product used to do that unit testing is called Flex Unit, and it is a free open source product. You do not need Flash Builder in order to do unit testing. There's something you can download completely separately. I mentioned Flash players, and some of you may be a bit dubious of that. All I can say to you is ignore the Adobe event at 11:30 and come here to the Dome to see Yoa, who I imagine is going to be talking about a product called JitB, which I'll crudely describe as being a Java-based Flash player. And a guy called Sandro's up in a couple of talks' time, and he's going to talk about alternative to Air. Now, I've concentrated on dev tools, partially because I am a developer, but also because most of the free tools out there are developer tools. Now, Adobe, with CS5, have ditched the closed FLA file, and they've changed it to this open XFL file, which they are due to publish all of the details, just as they did with Swift. So this actually gives great hope for the future for designers. Now, in conclusion, I reckon anyone who says that Flash is a closed proprietary platform is plain wrong. Flash is an open platform. Things like XFL have made it more open, and I think the future looks really good for us Flashers. Right, that's me done. My name's David Arney. Thank you very much for listening.
Hi everyone, my name is Dave Keane. I'm a freelance developer. I've been a freelance developer for 10 years or so, and I'm here today to talk to you about my new open source project, which is called FlexScreen. So I wrote FlexScreen, well, for myself, because I needed it. I do a lot of work with Flex on the client and PHP and databases on the server, and I find myself writing the same kind of code again and again. And FlexScreen is my attempt to stop doing that. So FlexScreen lets you deal with the database in terms of objects directly from AS3. What that means is if you have a user object that you want to save to the database, you don't have to worry about AMF or JSON or SQL. What you do is save FlexScreen, save this object to the database. So This is called the model-driven development workflow, and it's how you write applications with FlexStream. And the first thing you do is define your model. So this is an example model for the Flash on the Beach schedule. We have a session like this, and it's got some associations to other objects. So many sessions have one venue, in this case the dome. Many sessions have many categories. And so we write these, in FlexStream we write these in PHP. Whoosh, I like this. So it's just a normal PHP class. If you have a closer look, you can see it's got some public attributes. And above each attribute you have a little comment that says how it maps into the database. So session name has a type string and a length 80. So if you're using MySQL, that would become a varchar 80. And here are the associations. Very simple. You literally write many to many above it or many to one. So once you've defined your model, step 2 of the cycle is to create a database and create some AS3 classes to use it. FlexStream comes with this Natty manager, which you could use to do that stuff. You just open it up and click the buttons. So, at this point of the workflow, the back end is totally complete, and it's time to code the application in Flex. So, 3 minutes isn't really enough to go into this in detail. All I really want you to take away from this slide is the fact that CRUD operations are really short and really simple, and even if you have complicated associations between objects, it doesn't really get more complicated than this. FlexStream does other cool stuff, which I haven't got time to talk about, but some of it. It's available right now under GPL license, and there's documentation and some tutorials at www.flexstream.com. And we have a small but bustling community of users. So, yeah, it's very cool. Please try it out. That was Dave.